There's no way I would ever be able to tell my testimony in one video. I've tried. It's too much. So I just want to talk about, I want to start with my experiences, my personal experiences with God, like how I know God's real. So the first thing is that I always believed in God because I grew up in a Christian household. We weren't really Christian. Only my grandma Peggy really had the Holy Spirit, although there's a lot she didn't really explain. So, but I grew up going to church every Sunday and Wednesday in Awana, so I grew up with the concept of God. My first encounter with God, I was 11 years old, and I was in a Sunday school group for 11, 12-year-olds. And it just came out of nowhere. I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden I just feel the presence of God. And it's like he's just there in the room, and it's like he's above, but he's in the room, but he's above the room and outside the room all at the same time. And he's just this big presence. And I just remember this feeling that this lightness but this heaviness at the same time, this peace but this seriousness. And he knew me, he knew me, but I didn't really know him. And there's this mysteriousness, and it just happened. There wasn't any it's not like I just made it up. It's not like I wasn't daydreaming. When you feel the presence of God, you know it's God. There's no debating, there's no questioning. It just happens, and that's all I can really say. But that was my first experience, and then I didn't really feel that presence or encounter again until I was 14, and I went to a church camp. Now at that time I stopped believing in God. I was cutting myself, I was huffing spray paint, smoking cigarettes, taking pills, and listening to rock and emo music. I didn't want anything to do with God or Christianity. I was really disrespectful in church, but I went to this church camp because I had a friend, and she really wanted me to go, and I was like, fine. I hated it the whole time. I had a horrible attitude. I just, whatever. Then at the very end of this couple weeks I was at this church camp, something happened, and I was sitting in this big group of people. They were doing probably worship songs and sermons and talks and things, and then the next thing I know, I'm just captivated, and I don't even know why. And I'm just I just cared all of a sudden. What it was the Holy Spirit. This was my first encounter with the Holy Spirit, at least that I'm aware of. But the Holy Spirit captivated me. It was the very last night of the camp, and they take us, it's nighttime, and we go up this hill, and there's a big cross statue or something up there, and it was just this really sacred, and I remember just looking out on the horizon, and the sky, and the stars, and being on this hilltop, and it was God. I just felt that presence of God again, but this time it was less when the first time it was he was kind of mad. It was he was disappointed in me somehow, and I don't even think it was that. I think what it really was is he knew all the things that were about to happen in my life, because things got really bad for me, and they're still really screwed up. But it's he knew, and I didn't know. But anyway, this second time though was more this love and this peace, and this invitation to go forward with this experience I suddenly was having out of nowhere for no apparent reason. I just cared. I was just a different person. I just changed. I was I love Jesus. I love the church. Like, I love God. Like, so I go back home and I'm telling my mom, like, Mom, I, I want to read the Bible. And I don't even know what I said because I didn't even have a Bible. I don't know. But the next thing I knew, I go for a walk this evening, and it's a few days after I got out of the camp, maybe the next day, I don't know. And the kids my age that were high schoolers, there's only like 6 of them because the town was so freaking small. I'm talking less than 200 people. So there was like 6 kids my age, and they were all hanging out at the basketball court. And like, I kind of sort of knew them, but not really. But I kind of did enough to start talking to them, and like, now they all smoked pot. And the next thing I know, I'm going to smoke pot with them and start hanging out with them. From there, I mean, I was already, like I said, I was already cutting myself. I had an eating disorder. I was making myself throw up. I was not doing good in school, and I was having spray paint. And now I was like going to smoke pot. And I just started hanging out with them, started getting a ride to school with them, started listening to like rap music and smoking pot and getting high every day before school, when school started. And just totally forgot about this whole God, Holy Spirit encounter. The next time I had an encounter with God, I was 16. This was the encounter that just changed my life forever. Okay, long story short, I made friends with this kid named Leo, who like, I had this really strong connection with before we ever talked. I was always like, dude, I gotta talk to this person. Like, like, this person really stood out to me. They really intrigued me. I was like, who is this person? Like, I need to talk to them. Well, we get sat together in math class, and from there, we just hit it off. And we pretty much were like, we were 2 peas in a pod. He was the best friend I ever had. But the time that we had together was super short. We only knew each other for 6 months, and this was in October, Halloween 2009. There was this movie called Donnie Darko. A lot of people have heard of it. Pretty popular movie. It just came out like a few years ago. I watched it once and didn't really understand it. Thought it was weird and kind of stupid. And then, I had all this, like, something in me was like, watch Donnie Darko on Halloween. You gotta watch Donnie Darko on Halloween. And I was like, I had this all planned out. Me and Leo were gonna hang out and watch this movie together, but he's like, no, I won't hang out with you on Halloween. I hate Halloween. So since Leo doesn't want to hang out, I end up hanging out with my cousin, and who was also my pretty good friend growing up. But so we go to my aunt's basement, and we're smoking weed down there. I put in Donnie Darko, and we watched this movie, and it like instantly hypnotized me. And I don't remember at what point I felt the presence of God. I think it was right at the beginning. I don't remember, but I had this super spiritual encounter or like experience where like I got hypnotized, and like all this stuff was being revealed to me. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily from God. Anyone who's truly a Christian will be like, well, that was a demonic experience, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure, yeah, because drugs were involved, and Donnie Darko was obviously not a Christian movie. I don't know what was going on, but to me, it felt like God was talking to me, like, through the movie. He was showing me all these things, but I have no idea what I don't remember any of it. I just remember this was, like, really important. And so, the movie ended at where this experience, it went on through almost the entire movie until it got to the part where they're at Gretchen and Donnie are at the arcade, and they're playing this retro game, and they're driving this red car, and then they crash it. And as soon as the car crashed, I just snapped out of it completely. Like, I wasn't high anymore. Like, the hypnosis stopped, and the presence of God was just gone. Now, I guess to most people who are Christians, they say that wasn't God. I know it was God. I'm not saying whatever was being revealed to me might have not been coming from God, but God's presence was in the room, and it was the same thing, that big, what I already explained, and the big, powerful, chill, stern, love, peace, sternness, gravity, all the things. it just like he was just there with me, and I was there with him, and we just had this experience together. And I guess the voices were coming from demons, not that they were voices. I don't know what they were, just like knowledge, or I don't know what. So, but I just snap out of it, and then I'm like, oh, okay. And so a few nights later, I'm like obsessing. I'm like, dude, what happened to me? Like, what happened on this night? Like, I need to know. And I was like all obsessed with Donnie Darko. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I was trying to remember all this stuff that was being told to me, but I couldn't remember. So I finally decided to try to recreate the experience. I get really high again. This time I'm in my own room, and I put the movie in, and it's just, but it's not the same, and it's not making sense. And I'm like, dude, it's not the same, right? All of a sudden there's a knock at my door. It's like 9 o'clock at night, and my neighbors, who they're kids I was smoking weed with and stuff, but they never came over to my house, like, ever. They're upstairs. It's like a Thursday night, it's a school night, and there's a knock on my door, and it's like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, what the hell? What are you guys doing here? And they're just like, all, and then I see that they're like, in distress, and they're like, Victoria, Leo was in a car accident and he didn't make it. And I was like, so this whole thing, and the thing was, he gave me this ghost book I was just talking about, and he gave me this ghost book, and this was like 2 weeks before he died. So all this stuff, and like, the only other thing okay, I gotta end this soon. The only other thing is, like, I just knew God took him. That was when I actually believed in God again.